A follow-up now to something we reported on yesterday. The Trump campaign spending millions on political ads in battleground states in which it accuses Kamala Harris of supporting taxpayer-funded transgender surgeries for prisoners and migrants. Such ads have run more than 30,000 times.
30,000 times.
Primarily during NFL and college football games and events with high male viewership. But here's the catch. That policy was
the policy that they were attacking Harris for just talking about.
Right. She was talking about what the law is. That policy was carried out by the Trump administration, as explained by a new report in the New York Times. And now the Lincoln Project is out with a new ad calling out Trump for his hypocrisy on his attacks on Harris over gender-affirming care for prisoners. Take a look.
Have you seen this ad? Donald Trump is spending millions attacking Kamala Harris on a desperate lie. Taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens is a Trump administration policy. He's attacking Kamala Harris for his own record, and he thinks you're too dumb to get it. He's gaslighting America because Trump is for he, him. Kamala is for us.
So let's bring in longtime political strategist and consultant Rick Wilson. He's a co-founder and board member of the Lincoln Project.
So Rick, you know, if there are people out there that say, oh, wait a second now, wait, maybe we're being spun here, Trump supporters, maybe we're being spun here. The fact is, just like Kamala Harris is saying, listen to what Donald Trump says. Here, let's just look at Donald Trump's policy from Donald Trump's administration. I mean, I'm looking through this. I gotta say I was shocked. I was shocked because I watch NFL every week. My son and I watch it on YouTube, and we have the split 4 screen. And this ad is nonstop. And so it's because Kamala said something in 2019 at some event
about what's available
but
to
while
trans
she
prisoners.
was saying it, Donald Trump's Justice Department and Bureau of Prisons was sending directives to Congress to support gender-affirming care. The very things, for inmates, for convicts, the very things, Rick, that they were attacking Kamala Harris for talking about. They were doing. Talk about that.
Joe, thanks for having me on, and Mika. This is a classic example that Trump really has contempt for his own base. He really has contempt for the people that he needs to get reelected from. And this ad is meant to show, in a way that only the Lincoln Project probably would do, that this guy is he's gaslighting, he's lying to his own people. He's got contempt for them. This was his policy, his Bureau of Prisons policy. And, you know, you and I know that Donald Trump would drop an executive order at the drop of a hat on any issue, never did a thing about this, never talked about it, never made it a big deal. This was Donald Trump's policy, and he's trying to lie to people and say it's Kamala Harris's policy. And it's one more absurdity in a chain of absurdities, trying to stoke up fear on the Republican base with a lie. And, you know, that's really basically all he's left with in this campaign.
You know, Simone, the thing is, Rick brings up such a great point, because somebody asked me yesterday, said, well, yeah, okay, but this was Donald Trump's policy, but could he have changed it? The crazy thing about this is
important.
He could have changed it with his signature. He could have picked up his pen anytime during his 4 years in office, and he could have gotten rid of the policy. But not only did he not get rid of the policy, he knew about the policy, and he actually amended it a little bit. The amendment suggests that the Trump administration, the Trump Justice Department, the Trump Bureau of Prisons was very aware of this rule, very aware of their gender-affirming care at taxpayers' cost policy, and they kept it. And now they're attacking her for something she said at a forum while his policy was in place.
You know, for me, this is really just about, like, why does Donald, I ask myself this often, why does Donald Trump and Republicans like Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz is running ads against Colin Allred in Texas about this very issue, why do they want people to be discriminated against? Because ads about gender-affirming care that are against gender-affirming care, at the end of the day, I think, as Colin Allred said, he said, you know, I believe that people shouldn't be discriminated against, and that's where I stand. And I don't know what Donald Trump believes, you know, but I do think, and Rick, you tell me, but this has been my theory for a long time, that the culture wars, right, these trans kids, attacking trans kids, bathrooms, these abortion bills, all the things, the culture wars are actually the playbook of the modern day Republican Party apparatus. They are a distraction, but they are very much so the playbook. And the goal, frankly, is to whip up some stuff amongst the very, red meat heart of the base, but also get Democrats to play, to now play on this battlefield with them, so that we're not talking about the economy, we're not talking about Donald Trump's declining cognitive ability, that we're not talking about what is happening to women all over this country. That's my theory, but what say you?
There's a reason they're narrow casting these things, Simone, into a very tight audience. They're spending $30 million or so to talk to the bro vote and to talk to the evangelical vote, because they are particularly susceptible to the culture war messaging. This has nothing to do with economic growth or prosperity, nothing to do with improving people's lives. This has to do with opening up their closet of imaginary demons and scaring the hell out of a part of their base with something that is not a scale problem. The scale of this problem is very de minimis, but they want people to think there are millions of people getting sex changes in your schools and Donald Trump lying about this stuff every day. It really does show, again, a combination of desperation to get their base revved up and contempt for the rest of America and for their base, because he knows this is a policy he established. This is a policy that he was pursuing, and he could have done something about it. Well, he may not know it particularly. He's so out of it these days. But we are seeing I think, sort of a death twitch of the way the Republicans used to run. It used to be about taxes and defense and big picture issues. And now it's about, again, these things in their catalog of imaginary demons.
Well, and the thing is, first of all, Simone said, I don't know what Donald Trump believes on this issue. I do. I do.
His policy.
I do. Because,
you're right, Joe. You're right.
Because these are Justice Department documents from Donald Trump. These are Bureau of Prisons documents from Donald Trump and his administration. They knew about it. They actually amended it, and they could have gotten rid of it. Donald Trump could have gotten rid of the policy with a stroke of the pen, and he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And I want to, one more time, because the thing is, they've been showing this ad, this cynical ad, trying to attach Donald Trump's trans policy onto Kamala Harris, because they cynically think, and we suspect it may be working, that when they run it on NFL games,
absolutely, their
goal is to target black men, Hispanic men, working class men, and get them to say, well, maybe some of their economic policies may help me out, but this is just too crazy. They're too radical. But again, she's not too radical. It was his policy. And just to sum it up again, let's show you the ad one more time.
Have you seen this ad? Donald Trump is spending millions attacking Kamala Harris on a desperate lie. Taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens is a Trump administration policy. He's attacking Kamala Harris for his own record, and he thinks you're too dumb to get it. He's gaslighting America because Trump is for he, him. Kamala is for us.